From the Foundation Studio in Biloxi's Back Bay, welcome to SuperTalk Outdoors, where we celebrate every single Monday at lunchtime the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi. Because, as I say every single week, we're the capital of the outdoors in America. Believe it, because it is true. As we listen to Steve Azar's One Mississippi, the theme song for SuperTalk Outdoors, and now the state song for Mississippi. What a great song that is. I want to thank you for joining us on the powerful SuperTalk Mississippi Radio Network, on SuperTalk TV at C Spire TV. But if you're listening on Facebook or YouTube or your favorite podcast, it is August the 1st, 2022. Believe it, it's August already. This year is definitely flying by. Hey, man, we did a little fishing at Back Bay over the weekend. The reports are, across Back Bay are really good. We've had rain here, which is the sort of typical afternoon thunderstorms, but it hasn't affected the salinity at all. So the fishing's been really good. So in the near shore areas, you're hearing really good reports of triple tail and then flounder and redfish. And pretty far offshore, and the deep rigs, my friends Elmer and Chase PK, good long-term friends of mine who enjoy the outdoors with us. They hunt with us up in the Mississippi Delta. They went out and did an overnight trip to the deep rigs and caught some yellowfin and blackfin. They did some deep drop and had some pretty good success there as well. We spent the weekend, my friend Terry Waldrop and I spent the weekend at my place up in the Delta. A little family hunting club. We call it Delta Bluffs Hunting Club. We visited all three farms that I lease. And my biggest observation after having not been there in a few weeks is that I'm amazed actually how fast nature takes over. If you don't cut food plots or cut trails or whatever, nature has a way of taking over pretty rapidly, which is pretty amazing to me. And it's a beautiful time of year in the Mississippi Delta. You see a lot more soybeans than you normally see. That's my big observation. So you obviously you see some corn, you see some cotton, but a lot of soybeans. And I think because the price of soybeans are pretty good from a farmer point of view. They had a big stretch where there wasn't a lot of rain. And then they've had good regular rain. So during the first part of the season, as Andy Gibson mentioned, the dry field farmers had some real challenges because, they had to do a lot of praying. But so a lot of irrigation was going on. You had a lot of diesel, a lot of propane that was being burned at the first part of the season. But then, since then, there's been a kind of a regular, steady rain, and I saw some of the most beautiful soybeans I've seen in a long time. I mean, just incredible. At the farm we lease from the Dunns up in Menor City, that was literally the most beautiful soybeans I've ever seen. Beautiful. They're going to have a great yield this year. He was quick to remind us that it's not over yet. we got to get to a month or so or 2 months down the road yet before we can say we have a victory. But it's good to see that they're getting along pretty well. Hey, we visited with our friends Randy at the Top of the Hill Grocery. We went over to the Galeys and spent some time visiting with them, with Matthew and Michael Galey and their father Jerry, and Matthew's son Logan, who I enjoy being around because he's so excited about the outdoors. I love when kids engage themselves in the outdoors. I learned, unfortunately, or we learned that their uncle Billy Tate had passed away since the last time we had talked. I hated to hear that because he was such a wonderful part of their family, and I know the boys grew up spending a lot of time crappie fishing and enjoying him. But I hated to hear the news that he had passed away. Anyway, great time up in the Mississippi Delta. It was good to get back home, and it's good to be here on Super Talk Outdoors from, as I say every week, the Foundation Studio. We've got a very special guest today. We're going to be talking about the upcoming Expo. We had a visit with Andy Gibson last week and talked a lot about it. We're going to talk more about it today. But Don Brazel, who is the executive director for the Foundation for Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, Mississippi Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, someone I've been really wanting to get on the show now for a good long time. I finally was able to kind of lock him down, and we're going to spend a whole hour together, and you'll see why. He's a really interesting guy, very dedicated to the outdoors, and a good friend. How you doing, Don?
I'm great. How are you doing, Rick?
I'm doing fantastic, man. So where are you sitting right now?
I have the best background. I thought you always had the best one, but I think I do now. I'm sitting in practically one end of the trade hall of the Trade Mart on the fairgrounds. And I'm going to move out of the way real quick, let you look, but it's 2 football fields long, and we are about to fill it totally full with outdoor products and ag products for our expo. And when I mean fill it, we're sold out. We don't have any other space unless someone, one of the vendors does fall out. But right now, we're excited and got a great show to produce for you.
Well, we're going to talk more about it. You know, with Andy Gibson last week, we had the opportunity to talk a little bit about the new Mississippi Trade Center, which is where you are. It's completed with an investment of a little over $30 million. It's got 110,000 square feet of total space and 63,000 square feet of column-free, unobstructed exhibit space. I'm assuming that's what's behind you right now, right?
That is. I'm sitting in here. I feel like I'm in a deposition or something, sitting here with nobody else in the room practically. So we're excited about it, though, and ready to fill this thing up.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about that here coming up pretty short. It's coming up. It's coming up this weekend, actually, and it's going to be exciting. It's the 5th through the 7th, and we'll give you a good rundown on that. Before we go to that, though, Don, let's come back to you for a second.
Okay.
Tell me about your role at the foundation, but then once you do that, we're going to take a step even further back and kind of retrace your steps that actually ultimately led you to the foundation. But tell them about your role at the foundation.
Okay. I am CEO of the foundation, and we have 15 board members that are from throughout the state, and we have 4 ex officio board members that are also there. But our primary mission is to support the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks and their efforts in conservation, hunting, fishing. And as you well know, with the stewardship program that went through this past year, I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit. We also do things on a statewide basis, not just dealing only with the Department of Wildlife, but we're fairly broad-based, but our primary mission is the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks and their programs.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of talking about investments that have been made by the foundation over a number of years. And so the impetus for the foundation when it was formed was to really help the department, as you pointed out, the primary mission. But then over time, you began to invest in some other projects that are outside the foundation, outside of the department. And then what I really like about what the foundation has done is leverage its incredible network of outdoor enthusiasts from across the state to latch on the issues that are important. So in the past, the foundation was kind of back there in the background. People really didn't know that it was there. And but when you get onto an issue like the Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund that you just mentioned, that we've talked about here on the show many times, you're not in the background anymore. In fact, you're in the forefront, leading really important issues. And like I say, you don't get attached to all issues, but when you do latch onto an issue, best pay attention. That's kind of the way I say it. But that was a lot of success, wasn't it, buddy?
It was, and we actually feel like that we got it done quicker than we thought it would, even though we don't feel like we're finished. Is that a good answer for you?
It is. Well, it took a couple of years, and I think on a bill like that, where you're asking for a significant annual investment. This year we got 10 million, but hopefully in subsequent years we'll get 20 million, and maybe over time that will grow, and there may be other mechanisms that we can explore to guarantee that money is going to be there, so we don't have to wait on annual allocations. But for now, I think the alignment in the legislature and across state leadership and certainly conservation organizations is that this is really going to be groundbreaking. It's going to be generational types of investments in Mississippi's outdoors for recreation, outdoor recreation. And, it got done in 2 years, which I think is fantastic. I agree with you. Sometimes it takes time to align people around such substantial legislation. But given that so many legislators get the outdoors, gets the role that outdoor recreation plays economically to Mississippi, we got it done, and very few people were against it. That's a win-win, if you ask me.
That's right. We're really fortunate to have put together the coalition that we did put together, and dealing with a majority of the legislators that were very supportive of this. It did pass this year. And like you said, we got 10 million that can be utilized for matching with federal funds. I'm very fortunate to work with a board that is all just full of hunters, fishermen, and conservationists that put their money where their mouth is. Let's just say that. And
Yeah.
very fortunate that we got it done. And like I said, we continue to push forward to get more for our state.
Well, look, we're coming to the end of this segment, but when I come back on the other side with Don Brazel, the CEO of the Foundation for Mississippi Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, we're going to talk a little bit about Don. Where did he come from? Where did his love of the outdoors come from? We'll continue the conversation on the other side. See you after this break. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. As I mentioned, I was up in the Mississippi Delta this past weekend, and as we get to get our work weekends going and get the stuff that you got to do to get prepared for the hunting season, both for ducks and deer, which is a lot of work, but it's fun doing the work. And a lot of great camaraderie comes while you're doing that. We'll be doing some shows from up at Delta Bluffs. For sure. But for now, for the time being, we're here on Biloxi Bay in the Foundation studio. And I have my friend Don Brazel, who's the CEO of the Foundation, with us. And we're going to be talking about the Expo here in just a second. But I wanted you to get to know Don better. Don has been dedicated to the outdoors for the majority of his career. And he's got an interesting background. So, at what point in your life, Don, did you realize that you're gonna spend the rest of your life involved in something to do with the outdoors?
I didn't know there was any other job when I was growing up. That's all I ever wanted to do was deal with the hunting and fishing field. And I was very fortunate to have a father that just drug me everywhere. We hunted and fished, did everything. I was blessed in that arena. But to also be involved with Department of Wildlife biologists and conservation officers. So I just began to grow through time. I could go into a bunch of their names that helped pave the way for my career, but I started at Etowah Junior College back then, but now Etowah Community College in forestry. Went on to Mississippi State in forestry with a minor in wildlife ecology, and then got a master's in wildlife ecology. So went to work straight out, began practically with Department of Wildlife, spent 17 years, I think, with Department of Wildlife as a biologist and in the administration. Got a lot of other experience through real estate ventures and things like that. And now I'm with the foundation, and I don't even feel like I have a job. It's like when you wake up every day, I look forward to getting up and coming to work.
And I can tell that for sure. You're a native of Amory. Tell me about growing up there.
I did. Of course, Northeast Mississippi. All I ever knew, because my father just hunted and fished all the time. So I knew nothing different other than how to work and go hunt and fish. And, back then you could just go about anywhere. These days it's a little bit harder, but up there, once the three-wheeler was created, I went miles and miles away as a kid to go hunt and fish. So I don't know anything different, but as a kid, I was very blessed to have that opportunity.
I wonder, it's interesting to me that so many people, and I've talked, about this on this show many times, so many people got their love of the outdoors from a father or grandfather, some from their mothers and some from their grandmothers, actually. It's passed down through the family. Not everyone has that opportunity. I've had the opportunity as an adult to share the outdoors with adult friends of mine who didn't learn it from their family, and they get hooked just like everybody else who gets involved. But you think about the foundation and the work that you guys have done. You think about how you got a love of the outdoors. Not every child has that opportunity, and making investments in children has been a really important to what the foundation has been all about, isn't it?
It is. We do several different things that are directly related to kids, and preserving our natural heritage of hunting and fishing is something that we take great pride in it. The Archery in Schools program, the Scholastic Shooting Sports program, we buy a hunting license for every child that goes through the hunter ed program. We continue to try to create those, and not only that, but we're working with Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, the agency, and that's their goal. That's their livelihood. It's the future of conservation, is bringing those kids into that program.
Well, it's you mentioned the archery program, one of the most successful archery programs in the United States. What has happened there is just truly remarkable. And, it doesn't matter who I talk to at the department. I like to focus on someone at least every couple of weeks and see sort of what makes them tick. I mean, to a person, they always mention the importance of youth involvement. There's so many programs that are going on in so many different corners of the state that involve youth. But you're right, that's the key to our future. And if we don't keep them involved, I really think that a family that fishes together and hunts together and enjoys the outdoors together stays together. That's one of the keys to success in our life. But, coming back to growing up in Amory, having that opportunity, learning that from your father, learning responsibility early. You talk about getting on a three-wheeler, I guess even before we had four-wheelers. But, having the trust in your family to let you just run off miles into the forest land, but learning responsibility early in your life. I mean, it affects everything you do as an adult today, doesn't it?
I remember back then, even when I was in school or high school and such, my mind was still hunting and fishing. So I wasn't really doing the best I could with grades. And my mother even said one time, she said, I thought I was going to let you fail high school by letting you coon hunt every night. So you understand the process there. My mind wasn't in grades until I had, of course, went to college. Then I had to sort of begin to direct that path a little bit better. But I was very fortunate to get to do the things that I did at a very young age.
I have a very, very similar story that I tell. That when I grew up in the 70s, fishing off Courthouse Road Pier in Gulfport was really, really good. We could catch redfish and sharks and, wide variety of fish. And rather than go gallivant with my friends, I'd go to spend the night on the Courthouse Road Pier. And I'll look back on it now and I think, I can't believe my parents let me do that.
Oh, we don't let children do the things that we did. Sure.
But they let me do it, and they had reason to trust me because I wasn't going anywhere. I didn't want to miss that, that redfish bite or that shark bite or whatever. But it really impacted me in a positive way. And when I was in high school, I often say, and my wife hates it when I tell my kids this, that I learned through osmosis. I didn't study the way that you should or pay attention. It wasn't until I got to college like you that I really applied myself, and I did really well actually. But I don't know how I made it through high school because all I really wanted to do was fish. That was kind of my thing. I bet there are thousands and thousands of Mississippians that have a similar story to tell. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I know that. Matter of fact, I still have one child that I think believes he can hunt and fish all the time. But anyway, I know there's a better side on the other side of this. At some point, he'll figure it all out.
And they will. They will. Listen, you spent some time at the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. Tell me about that.
I did. Wonderful experience there, and great people. And believe it or not, that was really my first experience with seeing what a continuous source of funding does. They have the 1/8 of 1 cent sales tax that goes into conservation. All I can say is I immediately saw the importance of what it takes to have our conservation funded at the level that it should be, and the ability to utilize those dollars to go and match federal dollars that we're losing. It's sad how we've lost many millions because we didn't have the matching funds to go with that. And that's what our continuous stewardship program that passed will help assist with.
Well, it helps you to go to a place like Arkansas. I mean, a lot of people, when they think of Arkansas, they don't think of it being where it is in relation to Mississippi. And you can have programs that are happening just on the other side of the river that are incredibly beneficial to the building of wildlife habitat or whatever it might be. that's in a way sort of competing with Mississippi, and the opportunity for you to have been there to see what it looks like and to say, to bring that same kind of desire and goals to say, there are best practices all around the nation as it relates to this one right there in Arkansas. We've got to be able to do that. You mentioned the matching funds. That was the thing that convinced me more than anything else. When you start to look at the buckets that exist within, especially the Farm Bill, and how many different federal programs there are that could turn that 10 million or 20 millions into 40 or 50 million over time. It's a great opportunity. So a lot of places like Arkansas, for example, have been in that scheme for a while, and we can learn from their best practices, and hopefully we can come out hitting the ground running with great programs. I know that's what you hope as well.
Oh, I do, very much so, and I know we're off to a good start with getting the board created that will oversee this program, and we do thank the governor and lieutenant governor for going in and appointing those people, and look really forward to that program that they establish. We look forward to the public seeing the importance of putting those our dollars into it, and how many federal tax dollars are going to come into our state.
Well, we're having a conversation with Don Brazel, who is the CEO of the Foundation for Mississippi Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. When we come back, we're going to talk just a little bit about his time in the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, 15 years there, and how that helped sort of shape him to be a really good contributor as this nonprofit, the Foundation, serves the needs to help fill gaps for the department, so to speak. And then we'll shift gears and talk about the upcoming Expo. What an incredible Expo it's going to be. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to SuperTalk Outdoors as we listen to my friend Steve Azar and One Mississippi, this new state song for Mississippi and the theme song for SuperTalk Outdoors. We're visiting with Don Brazel, who's the CEO of the Foundation for Mississippi Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. Don is a certified wildlife biologist. He's a registered forester. He's involved in real estate management. He's kind of a jack of all trades. All those things kind of fit together pretty well, don't they, Don?
They do. It's fitted me well for the career, especially up to where I am today.
When you look back at your time at the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, besides the incredible number of dedicated people who work there, what stands out to you during those 15 years?
The people I got to know by far have stood out, and the things that I've learned from so many of those people, the friendships you make, and so on. Granted, I was really blessed to start out on Mahana, Twin Oaks, and Lake George wildlife management areas with the development of those areas, and then branched on, got to be in some of the most incredible waterfowl areas that our state's ever produced. Then I became state waterfowl biologist and assistant chief of wildlife, and then came back as one of Dr. Polis's directors for 8 years. So I was incredibly blessed with all of that, and getting to know the way the agency works and about all those different hunting licenses and how that money works within the system. Got to be involved with conservation officers and biologists throughout the state. I think I've really gotten to experience the state of Mississippi and what it has to offer. So it's done my career very well to get me to the point of what I do today.
What you do today, you're the foundation, which again is a nonprofit. They raise money for a significant amount of it goes to the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks to fill gaps in capital needs, et cetera. But you're involved in other things, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show. Issues orientation is something that's important. You're not involved in all the issues, but again, when you latch onto an issue, you better pay close attention, because it's been determined that this is going to be really important to the future of outdoor recreation and conservation in this state. Last thing I want to mention to you or ask you about before we move on to the Expo is that, when I look at the board of directors for your organization, I see this incredibly successful, incredibly dedicated volunteer group that is from all corners of the state, who share the mission of the foundation. You're really lucky to be surrounded by. I mean, you're talking about people. Look, a long time ago when I when I was publisher of newspapers, I would say yes a lot, and I came to understand when I wanted to ask someone to help me, I would find the busiest person I could and ask them to help me, because if you want something done, find a busy person to do it.
Right.
You're surrounded by a lot of busy people who've decided the foundation is important to their priorities, and that you're honored to be there in that position and that with that team of people around you, aren't you?
Oh, like I said earlier, I've learned so much from so many different people. But when you are in a boardroom with 19 people that are very successful in their own world, I mean, some of them, that we have a wide variety, 90% of them for sure. But when we tackled in a cooperative effort with the coalition members, I think a lot of people learned just how strong some of our board members are at getting something across the finish line. And I know you saw it, but I'm incredibly blessed to be involved with all those people. And when we come together, our effort is to assist with the state with many, many different things.
Yeah.
Our board meetings are fun board meetings.
Yeah.
We don't go in there and there's negative things that come out. We're all moving forward trying to accomplish what's the next goal for our state.
And you do such a good job at it. And one of the goals is to raise money. And so you started, this is the second August Expo. You did a spring Expo.
That's
so
correct.
This is really the third Expo.
Right.
And, for this to be the second summer Expo, to be doing as well as it's doing, it's got to make you thrilled.
We're thrilled. We are not in that business or in that arena of expos. However, you learn each year that you do something. And for us to have this whole entire building behind me, 70,000 square feet full with vendors, we've got over 130 vendors that will come. And I'll just give you an example. I think our largest vendor is Van Sporting Goods. He's got 3,500 square feet just himself that he's bringing in professionals from all over to assist with anybody, any person that wants to buy scopes, binoculars, any of those type things. So that's just a piece of what we've got. We've got a lot of other things for kids to do, but we're really excited. I'm in here when it's open. There's nothing in here. I know starting Wednesday, the move-in occurs, and this will be such a full building in the next 3 days.
So, what I like, and Andy Gibson and I talked about it last week, but the marrying of outdoor recreation to the ag community, I speak for myself. I lease 3 separate farms. I would be toast without the farmers that I work with. And the reality is that there's such a great relationship between the farm community and the outdoors community. But you're talking about agricultural products, hunting products, fishing products, worldwide guides, ATVs and UTVs, tractors and power equipment, and a long list of others. And the other thing I'll mention, you have the Primos team that's going to be there, obviously. But you think about the number of personalities that have rolled out of the outdoors community through social media and all that. I mean, the room's going to be full of people that a lot of people will recognize. That's always exciting, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And we always say we've got toys for big boys and we've got toys for little boys. So, in other words, bring them on. We've got a little bit of everything. We've got archery range for the kids. We've got a petting zoo. We've got a kids zone where they can go in and of course, touch the little alligator, touch snakes, possum. The Mississippi Museum of Ag and Forestry is also coming in to teach them about how to make butter, how a bee pollinates. I mean, there's going to be just such a variety of things in the kids zone. So bring them on. And if you want to touch a giant skidder and sit in the tire of it, come on, you can take pictures in that tire. So we got a bunch of things. National Guard's coming out to bring a lot of things. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
What I mentioned to Andy last year was amazing when you pull up and see all this big modern farm equipment and where farm equipment has gone to in terms of advanced technology is truly amazing. And you'll see that all that on display. Southern Ag Credit's a title sponsor, but you've got a long list of others. I've got a list here if you want me to share it. If you got a list,
if you're not, I'm going to. So
yeah. Okay. Well, Farm Bureau, Heritage Properties, Outback Steakhouse, JR Group, Stribling Equipment, Empire Trucking, the Taylor Group of Companies, Primo's Hunting, Davini, and KLLM Transport Services. Is that a complete list? Did I miss anybody?
No, I think you missed Chevrolet. That may do it, but
okay.
The presenting sponsor is Southern Ag Credit. We definitely
for sure, but you can't do it without great partners, can you?
That you can't put this on without it. There's just no way. And the volunteers and the board members and the Heritage 100 members. We've got 2 events actually on the same weekend. I don't think we've mentioned the Bulls, Bands, and Barrels event, but Saturday night, if you want to see high octane, it's a rodeo with music and the lights and everything. It's going to be really great, but that will be at 7 o'clock on August 6th. So lots of things going on, especially just bring the whole entire family. But
got a great lineup of musicians and when Andy talked about it, you could tell he was really excited to have all those things kind of rolled up into one, because he said the people who enjoy country music and the people who like the bull side of it, et cetera, they all tend to be the same people.
That's right. If you like country, you need to come spend the weekend here, because we're excited about what we're going to provide for you.
Let's give a few details. Ticket price for adults is $12. Kids 6 through 12 is $6. 5 and under are free, and then Sunday all kids are free.
All kids free.
And here are the key times: noon to 7 on Friday, 10 to 7 on Saturday, and 10 to 5 on Sunday. And then, of course, Saturday evening at 7 is when the little special event that you mentioned. Who named that, incidentally? That's a great name.
Well, that's actually the promoter that owns that business. He owns the Bulls, Barrels, and Bands event. And that's something he's done. He's been doing it all throughout the country. The one thing we added to it this time, and you've got to go watch this, it's called freestyle bullfighting. And I know these guys love what they do, but I have no idea how they go do this and fight these things. And it's really, they get scored by keeping their hands on the bull practically.
Wow.
So it's going to be really interesting.
I have a son who moved to Madrid for a few months to learn Spanish. And while he was there, by himself, big Ernest Hemingway fan, he decides that he's going to catch a plane and go to Pamplona and run with the bulls. And then he gets in with some locals, and he wears a GoPro, and he almost gets gored. And it's not something I want to do. Bulls are dangerous, dangerous.
I'm not doing that either.
When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Don Brazel, who's the CEO of the the Foundation for Mississippi Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the final segment of today's Super Talk Outdoors from the Foundation Studio on Biloxi's Back Bay. I have my friend Don Brazel with us today. We learned a lot about Don. He's the CEO of the Foundation. And, again, every time I have a deep conversation about where someone comes from that leads them to the role that they're playing today, there's always this connection to heritage. Heritage keeps coming back up over and over again. In fact, if there's a sort of a brand promise for the foundation, it is that they're protecting the heritage of outdoors in Mississippi, which always, Don, brings you back to the kids and the incredible focus that the foundation has on introducing kids to the outdoors. So if a kid were to come to let's put it this way, this expo is all about family. It's all about families, whether they're farmer families or outdoors families. It's all about family. There's going to be a lot for kids to do there, isn't there?
There is. And really, I think I expressed earlier in the show that a lot of our emphasis with the foundation is based on what we can do for children. And granted, when they come to our expo, we want them to remember coming in the front door, seeing all that giant forestry equipment, farming equipment, four-wheelers, ATVs, such as that. But once they get in here, 20 years from now, when you and I are talking again about this, I want them to say, hey, do you remember when we went down on the other end of the building and shot bows at 3D targets, or the petting zoos, or just being able to go in and see conservation officers or biologists and talk to them. I mean, the Parks Division, for instance, is making s'mores over a little fire of a thing. So we want those kids to remember casting that rod in a little game there. When you start looking at it, this event, it's a consumer show. And we want those kids to walk out of here with those little fishing poles or BB guns or whatever. But mainly our goal is for them to know who our foundation is, for them to have a great time. And in the future, when we talk about it one more time, they'll say, that got us started in the conservation field.
What a great goal. And, the beauty is that you've seen it with your own eyes over the last couple of expos. You've seen it with your own eyes, kids to come in there and wonder at so many different aspects of the show. That's why it's become the greatest agriculture and outdoor show in Mississippi. And it's hosted by the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks Foundation, and has a long list of wonderful supporters who are involved. And remind me how many different exhibits there are going to be?
As of yesterday, is 139 different vendors. Now you have some that are big, and then some that have 10 by 10, 100 square feet. So you will come see a little bit of everything in that agriculture and outdoor world. It's such a mixture. I know Commissioner Gibson had talked about, I can't believe that it hasn't been combined before, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's been such a good, the sponsors have just bounced in and said, yes, we've always known this was there, because your farmers and your conservationists are one and the same. I don't care where you go, you're going to run into both of those at the same type of event. So tell everyone just to come on out. We're excited to see them. We hope to fill this building full of people.
So for people who are watching this on Facebook or YouTube, you see behind Don, what we talked about at the beginning of the show, this incredible new facility there. The state spent $30 million plus on it. It has, look at how beautiful that unencumbered space is behind you, Don. It's got to be exciting to be in that building.
70,000 square feet of nothing but product. So we're excited. We're excited.
Yeah. Hey, so before we get too far away from it, and as we kind of come to the end of our time together, tell me about your team there at the foundation.
Well, currently, I consider our team our whole entire board.
Yes.
There's 3 of us, though, that work daily. And then you've got the 15 board members and the 4 ex officios, but everyone participates. Everyone puts a piece of their life into the foundation. And you'll see when you come to the expo this weekend, we're at the front door handing out bags and things like that. We want everyone to know who we are. Our board has got a convention display, and each one of them are going to come visit with people from that display. So it's all of us. Every one of us are involved.
That is exciting, man. It's exciting. I know that I had the opportunity to work closely with John Taylor and Chris Gorris during the Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund deal. And I've had several members of the board on the show. Hope eventually they have them all on the show, because each has a very unique story to tell. And their personal story in terms of what they've done to become successful is a real inspiration to others as well. Don, we're running out of time, but good luck this weekend at the Expo.
Well, thank you very much. And like I said, look forward to seeing everyone there over the weekend.
For sure. Hey, listen, this has been Don Brazel. Have a great day. And as I always say, we'll see you next week. Stay safe when you're in the outdoors. Always put safety first. Have a great week. We'll see you next Monday.